Sinha, along with Secretary Department of Financial Services, Mrs. Anjali Chitdugar. This conference is organized for briefing about the Gyan Sangam, which started today here in SB Academy, Gurgaon. So without taking much time, I would request Secretary Department of Financial Services, Ms. Dugal, to make her opening remarks. Thereafter, the Honorable Minister will make his statement and take questions relating to Gyan Sangam today. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience. Friends, as you're aware, this is the second edition of Gyan Sangam. At the previous Gyan Sangam, very broadly, we decided to look at a number of issues relating to banks, which related to the rationalization of asset portfolios, investment in building capabilities for more effective appraisal of loan applications, for better delivery of services, to engage in technology-enabled transformation, to increase banking outreach, to strengthen various bank-related processes, to leverage the strength of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana for direct benefit transfers as well as for banking, insurance and pension products. We also decided that we were going to set up an appointments board, which was done, and many appointments have actually taken place through the process of the appointments board, to set up a bank board bureau, and you've read about that as well, so you know that it's on the anvil. It's going to start functioning from the 1st of April 2016 from Mumbai. We talked about creating an environment to protect right decisions and minimize interference. And I think from this side of the table, I can say that this is a promise that has been kept. You will want to ask the bankers, and I'm 100% certain that they're going to ratify this particular point. We talked about strengthening and ensuring implementation of legal framework for recovery, and there are a number of issues which are on the anvil. Tomorrow when we do a full-scale press conference, you'll be hearing more about that. We talked about de-stressing of banks, on which we've seen some path-breaking decisions in roads, power, steel, coal and sugar sectors, among others. There have been various circulars of the Reserve Bank of India as far as the liquidity coverage ratio is concerned, as far as the strategic debt restructuring is concerned, as far as the GLF mechanism is concerned. There are a number of other things that have been announced in the budget, and I think we'll be talking about those as well. We talked also about enabling infrastructure for digital banking and common KYC norms, and we're going to be discussing some of those points further, and I can mention to you straight away that a lot of work has been done on that during the year as well. Between today and tomorrow, we intend to focus on 5 major areas, but within these 5 areas, there is going to be a knitting of a number of areas which are of concern to banks, to promoters, and to Indians as a whole. But the large, broad areas you already have in the papers that have been handed out to you. So these are asset quality, restructuring within the banking space, technology and financial inclusion, credit growth, and risk management. I will stop here, and I will ask Malik Saab to tell us what is to be done next.
Now I would request the Honorable Minister to make his statement, and thereafter the House will be open for question answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malik. Good afternoon to all of you from the media who are here today. Last year's Gyan Sangam was a seminal moment for India's public sector banks. The Honorable Prime Minister had come to that Gyan Sangam in Pune. Honorable Finance Minister was there. And all of us from the Ministry of Finance were there in a series of very important and influential discussions that we had with our colleagues from the public sector banks. As a result of Gyan Sangam, we began a transformation process and ushered in a series of reforms and changes to the public sector banks that were the most sweeping set of reforms since these banks were nationalized in 1969. The first phase of that set of changes was Indradhanush, which we announced in August 2015. And what we accomplished by then, between January of 2015 and August of 2015, was to complete the first phase of this transformation agenda, which was to change the governance and management of the public sector banks. And we did that through a variety of ways. First of all, there was a very important executive order that went out from the Honorable Prime Minister saying that there will be no more interference in the operations of the public sector banks, that they have to focus on what makes commercial sense and operate free of any interference from the political class. And this is vitally important because unless our banks operate on a commercial basis, it becomes very difficult for them to compete and thrive in a much more competitive banking landscape. And so the first phase that ended with Indradhanush was to put in place governance and management reforms, obviously autonomy in terms of their own commercial interests. Number two, to separate the role of the chairman and the MD as per global best practices. Number three, to set up a meritocratic and transparent process for the selection of independent directors, chairman and MDs of the banks. And number four, which we had announced in the budget, but then we started to work on, was the establishment of the Bank Board Bureau to assist in the governance and management of the public sector banks. So that was the first phase of the transformation agenda. The second phase of the transformation agenda was the asset quality review that was undertaken by the Reserve Bank of India. Obviously, this was done in very close collaboration with us in the Ministry of Finance. We worked very, very closely with the Reserve Bank of India as the asset quality review was undertaken. And what the asset quality review enabled us to do was to get a system-wide view of the set of stressed assets that were there in the economy, both public sector banks and private sector banks, and understand also that we needed a certain capital that was required for the public sector banks and the private sector banks to ensure that they remained well north of all the requirements that RBI has and Basel III has for capitalization. So this was the analysis that we were doing with the Reserve Bank of India as the asset quality review went through between August and December, January of 2015-16. That was the second phase of the transformation agenda. And obviously, we have now a very good sense of what the set of stressed assets are. As we have said before, we believe that this stressed assets is about 8 lakh crores of the total advances that public and private sector banks have. As the reported numbers are, we have about 11% or so, 11.25% if the numbers are accurate from my memory, of stressed assets in the system right now. The good news in all of this is twofold. One, that the set of stressed assets has stabilized. We know where they are and we know how to deal with them. And number two, we have now a clear sense of what it means for bank balance sheets. And we obviously in the budget 2016 have provided 25,000 crores and we will provide more as necessary to ensure that our banks are well capitalized. In addition, RBI of course has also made certain changes to the manner in which capital can be recognized as part of CET1, that's Tier 1 capital, and that has added further strength to bank balance sheets. So as far as the set of stressed assets is concerned, as far as the NPA situation is concerned, that we think we now have a very good control over, and of course working very closely with the RBI, we'll continue to work with those numbers to see how we can further expedite and strengthen the recovery process for these stressed assets. So that is the second phase that has now been completed. Gyan Sangam 2 now really begins the third phase of the transformation agenda. And in the third phase, there are a number of topics that we'll be discussing, as Ms. Duggal has pointed out. And we will be working with the RBI, of course, in all of this, with experts that we have brought in from the outside as well. And it will be done in a very collegial and in an environment where we'll be able to exchange ideas and really begin to think through the agenda for this year and what this third phase of transformation will look like. Thank you.